Okay, everybody. All right, welcome to FPL Live, everyone. It is the Christmas Spectacular show. We are very excited to be bringing you Game Week 18 and 19, and we have a lot of guests on the show tonight. So we're really excited. Stag, do you want to introduce all of our guests?
All of our guests. It's like naming out like the population of China. We've got so many on here tonight. Crazy. So, in no particular order, we have John William, the fantasy gaffer. We have Peter Artemidorus. How do I pronounce it, Peter? Peter, can you say how you pronounce your name?
Artemidorus _1. Us on Twitter.
Artemidorus _1. Yeah, who's the data analyst, the king of data in some ways in the FPL.
Well, maybe not.
Well, maybe not. We also have another data guy. The king of the sites for data, for certain. And that's Craig, is here from Fantasy Football Fix. He was on a few weeks back and it went spectacularly. He's back again for this Christmas bonanza. And of course, Chief is also here in the background managing all of our social media stuff tonight. So he's here. He is omnipresent, but he is not actually here. But there he is.
He's here for the most part.
He's here. Have I caught everybody?
No, we have one more special guest. It's my fellow American friend. It's John Wallen from Playtaga. Oh, really?
John.
I didn't hear it.
I think I deserve being mentioned twice.
John was first up.
But yeah, awesome.
We're all here.
Yeah, we are all here, and we're all ready to take some questions.
The gang's all here, and everybody's here listening too. It's fantastic. Right, so does anyone have a single topic or a question to ask everyone to start this off? Like, what is the main question on everyone's lips this week?
I think the biggest thing on my mind right now is Aguero.
It has to be, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
like a cloud.
You guys want to go there? Hello?
That's kind of the
Anyone here?
cost of suspension.
Aguero's on my mind as well. I think for me, he's definitely going back in my team without a doubt.
Yeah, I agree with you.
How much has he fallen?
How much has he fallen? How far has the
He is full. He was up at 13.2 at some stage this season. He's now down to 12.8.
12.8.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's prime too. Because whenever Aguero's a differential in this game, it's pretty hard to pass him up.
Like, perhaps the most shocking part is that he's still owned by 17.6% of all managers. Which is
Most of those ghost teams, though, surely, aren't they?
Yeah, of course they are.
I mean, after he was second banned for violent conduct, surely most people decided to get rid of him at that point for 4 games.
You'd expect it, and yet still, like, if he goes and he scores the very first week, keeping red arrows because of that sizable chunk of players. Even ghost teams who were somehow ahead of him.
It's just too dangerous not to have him.
But playing into that, we kind of have like this whole entire mess going on with the premium strikers. So we have a lot of people now getting rid of Kane because of his spectacular 3 weeks of blanks, would I be correct in saying? We have the re-emergence of Zlatan Ibrahimovic as a must-have, apparently. And then you've also got the Diego Costa suspension hold.
Yeah, I had Costa, and I took him out because I actually bought him very late. So I was in a luxurious position where I could obviously take him out and pretty much buy him back for the same cost. So I think I bought him at 10.6. I sold him at 10.8, and when he was in before he dropped, he was 11. So obviously, I can buy him back for the same cost, no problem.
Yep. I'm keeping hold of Costa. I'm keeping hold of Costa. I mean, I signed him late as well, but it's only one game, right? I mean, there's no. I don't want to waste a transfer getting him out and then waste another transfer getting him back in. And I'm keeping hold of him, but only really because I don't really see any other premium strikers over and above Costa.
Yeah.
Although it does slightly concern me. He might be overperforming slightly at the moment, given that according to the Opta stats, Chelsea haven't created a big chance. I think in 3 weeks.
I was even looking at that myself. I think Eden Hazard has only had 1 shot in his last 2 games.
Yeah, it's like they're winning every game 1-0, and it's like Costa's just so prolific at the moment.
Yeah.
In the same way, Ibrahimovic is so prolific, but I can't help but feeling they're both overperforming somewhat. So, I mean, I'm keeping Costa, but I'm not happy about it.
So I'm assuming you haven't got Ibra, Pete. Is that right?
I've got Kane, and it's. I'll be completely frank and upfront with you. I've got no idea what I'm doing with my team this week. I still haven't made any decisions on it. So there's me sitting there saying, "Oh, I'm not going to bring Ibra in, but tomorrow morning I might do." I don't have Ibrahimovic. He massively underperformed earlier in the season, and now he seems to be massively overperforming relative to what he's actually delivering. So, I don't know. I feel like I need to bring him in, but at the same time, I'm just scared that I'm going to bring him in and he'll just blank for another 6 game weeks.
You want an excuse not to? I mean, he's had 6 shots on target in his last 5 matches. He's scored on 5 of them. I mean, that's fairly unsustainable. He's going up against Jordan Pickford, who's been Heaton-esque.
I'm playing Pickford this week, definitely.
Chance.
I'm definitely playing Pickford. I mean, this is going to be David Moyes putting 11 men in the 6-yard box and just putting up brick walls, basically. And we've seen United struggle this season, right? We've seen them when they played Burnley. Tom Heaton kept them out single-handedly. So this has got Pickford save points written all over it. So I'm like I say, I'm worried about Ibrahimovic. But again, I'm worried about Ibrahimovic in the same way I'm worried about Costa. Costa's had 4 shots on target in the last 4 games. He scored 3 of them, and those pretty much the only shots on target that Chelsea have had.
Yeah, to Costa's credit though, I mean he is actually making more chances than Ibra is. He's made. I'm just looking at the rough Opta stats right now. It looks like almost 20 chances over his last 5 matches. He had 5 chances created against Everton, 4 against Middlesbrough. Even in the last 3 matches, he had 3 against Albion and 1 against Sunderland. And Ibra's not making anywhere near that same level. He's much more goal dependent for his score.
Yeah, he's definitely a selfish player. That goes to show in his numbers with regards to shots on goal and just shots in general. He is literally head and shoulders above anybody in the league. He's amassed an awful lot of attempts on goal.
So we have a question that comes every week, and it's probably the most important question that comes every week. And I think that myself, Chief, and Luke especially we've really thought about this one a lot. But I think you guys, this might be fresh for you guys, and it comes from Max Walters. It's an important part of the show.
Oh God!
He asks us, pasta or egg, people? Every week, every single week, without fail.
I'm sorry. What was the question?
Pasta or egg? It's just that simple.
It'd have to be egg for me.
Great.
Is it like a right this moment question, or is it like I'm stuck with one for forever?
You don't get any hints, John. It's simple. It's pasta or egg.
Egg.
Yeah, Max isn't a man for details. He's just a man for pasta and egg, and he doesn't know which one to have every week.
All right, let's move on to a soccer-related podcast question. I'm seeing a lot of questions about Ibra versus Sanchez for the captain armband. What are you guys leaning right now? I have mine on Ibrahimovic at the moment.
Wow.
I would probably lean towards Alexis. I really like what he's doing and the way that team is set up. I think it was James York that tweeted out the hours between all the different kickoffs that the matches are seeing. I really like Sanchez to kind of come in strong right now, right? I mean, do we think he's getting sat first, or do we think he's getting sat second? Personally, I think Alexis is going to get sat second match, not the first.
Who do they come up against?
Who are you thinking is going to get sat for that first one?
It's Albion in the first one.
Albion and then Palace and then Bournemouth.
Yeah.
I probably see him getting sit in the second. Yeah, playing the first and the third.
I don't actually think Arsene Wenger has an awful lot to say with Alexis Sanchez. I think almost Sanchez dictates when he plays and when he wants to play. And I can see Sanchez playing, not all 3 games, but I reckon he'll play minutes in all 3 games and he can do damage in all 3 games.
Yeah, no questions there.
I feel like Sanchez is the only, well, apart from maybe Chelsea defenders, for me, I kind of feel he's the only indispensable player in the game at the moment.
I agree with you there, Pete. I think he's got my captain nod at the moment, but obviously it's tough to turn a blind eye to Ibrahimovic if you own him.
And as we approach the mid-season, we also approach the 18th game week where I have not had Alexis Sanchez, and my rank reflects it. Every single week I think I have to get this guy in. Like, it's just getting ridiculous. And I always make a new reason for why I don't need him. But as you say, he has been just unbelievably prolific.
But you're not doing too bad though, Stag. So what do you think that you've gained from not having Alexis? You can't be, you're doing all right.
I would have said that up until about week 8, but for the last 10 that hasn't been the case. I've actually just went through the floor, so I'm not doing all right. So I do need him, but
Sanchez absolutely killed me a few weeks ago. At half time in that West Ham game, I was using the fantasy football fix projected ranks. I was up at 1,000 at half time in that game. Then Sanchez came in, scored a hat trick, and suddenly I plummeted to 10,000. I was like, it's just ruined my season.
Yeah,
I just haven't been able to address the slide since then. Everything I've done done has just been wrong since then.
Yeah, and I was the opposite of you. That I
like-
actually flew because of that. So yeah, it works both ways.
I'm looking at the stats right here. Since game week 16, I've actually lost 1.2 in team value.
Jeez.
Wow.
Jesus.
Wow. Lost.
Talk about being on every wrong train.
Yeah.
It's also that's endemic of the game this season. I mean, everybody and I've always played that way. I like to make my transfers fast and loose, but I mean, really, the entire mass of active managers are making moves before the game weeks are concluding. You're seeing 0.2, 0.3 price shifts on players like within a 24-hour period, sometimes even before the game week's out. So I mean, it's easy to gain and lose value this year.
Like I think an awful lot of that goes with the we're over 4.2 million now in terms of managers. We hadn't even crossed the 4 million barrier previous to now. So you're probably talking about at least 2 million pretty active managers, I would think.
Don't you think that's
there.
nonsense? I mean, how many people? I know I have multiple accounts. I bet you there's no more than 2.5 million people actually playing.
Yeah, I have 2 accounts as well. I play one that with different with people at work. So.
Yeah, and I have one where I completely just mess about with it. Like I'll only take players that are under 8 million, or I'll only take players that are away, or I'll only take Belgians one week, and I pay tons of penalties and whatnot. But, I mean, it's loads of fun, I mean, it's not particularly great advice to give someone.
So we actually have a question coming in from Martin Gill, who's listening tonight. He's asking, which Palace player do you think would benefit the most from Big Sam's appointment?
I'd have to say Townsend.
Yeah.
Not Benteke?
Just because of the AFCON, or is there more to that?
I'm only saying Townsend purely on the basis that he's sort of slipped again and gone back into the realms of sort of poor form. But he's a very selfish player, and I think Sam will quite like him. And I think Benteke will have a positive impact as well. But then Benteke seems to just tick along no matter what manager he's under. So.
And
I think
that Palace's defense would become a big factor too.
Yeah, you've got to imagine they're going to tighten up a bit. Pardew had absolutely no interest in defending at all, did he? Whereas Allardyce, I think the first thing he'll do is go and shut up shop and just say, right, we'll build from the back. So what he did with how he took over at Sunderland.
Yeah, agreed. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of who benefits more and who improves more, I'd probably say Townsend, but I don't think that Benteke is... I think he'll be positively affected as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, I think the English connection between the two, and Allardyce seems to like him. He was calling him up this summer for a bunch of England caps as well.
Yeah, he seems to always be in the England fold, no matter what his form's like, doesn't he? I think the way Palace will change their style of play. We all know Big Sam can be pretty boring, so obviously, like you said, it will be focusing on the defence, and you just know that the counter attacks will be more frequent. And Andros Townsend is electric in terms of pace, so he's not, he's a bit inconsistent. But certainly he'll try and shine under a new manager where he wasn't getting a look in under Pardew.
Yeah, John. I guess. Someone like Scott Dan with Sam Allardyce coming in, do you feel like he's maybe a better option, specifically maybe in the Taga format where, you get those points for clearances and aerials?
Yeah, tackles won and interceptions, things like that. Yeah, I mean, Dan's been doing very well as it is. I mean, I think he's won 54 aerials, 61 clearances already, and he's only played 1,170 minutes. 1,170 minutes, which is all great. I think there's actually a lot of players on Palace that have underperformed in the FPL salary cap game, because if you do, as you mentioned, Luke, if you're at Taga, which is a weekly and a draft format, we score across 18 categories, and Christian Benteke right now is actually scoring really, really well because he's making lots of shots on targets. He's actually contributing to chances created, and he's won 127 aerial duels already.
Yeah, I saw that.
He's just so there's a chance here, I think, that Allardyce comes in and Benteke's numbers start going up for fantasy, and we all attribute that to Allardyce when really we should just be attributing it to the fact that Benteke has been working really hard and getting very unlucky in the first half of the season.
John, actually, just out of interest, how does that 127 tally up with other big strikers? Like, let's say we'll talk Ibra and Costa and co. Where is he tallying up hugely ahead of them, or?
Stag, I'll tell you, it's on par. It's on par with Andy Carroll as of late.
Okay. he is the number. I don't have the full Opta in front of me right now, but he's either first or second in the Premier League in the category with 127 as we've scored it. So there's a little bit of wiggle there because we close our scoring at the end of the match. So if there was like a scoring correction the next day, that might not be reflected in what I'm seeing. But it's Benteke and it's Vokes, Sam Vokes from Burnley. They're each at 127. No one else has broken 100. So when you talk about like huge strikers, Romelu Lukaku has 58. Even Virgil van Dijk from Southampton, he only has 78. So I mean, Benteke he's a monster in the air.
You just know that Benteke is going to be Sam Allardyce's main man.
Absolutely,
he's a player that just like fits the mold for Allardyce. He's like with where he's had players like that before that have actually been good in the air but pretty bad at the foot. Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's Carroll with his feet he's just literally like a donkey, whereas at least Benteke can actually play.
But if you see like Allardyce come in and turn into like Kenny Dalglish's Liverpool, where we're just putting in, where Palace is just putting in 40 crosses a match. I mean, Benteke might score 10 headers in the next 19 matches.
Yeah.
I'll be delighted if that happens.
Yeah, if I had the funds, I definitely would have gotten Benteke for Carroll last week. But that's how it goes. That's how it goes.
He's just a little bit priced out of that sort of budget third striker, if that's the way you're playing, isn't he? Really, I mean, you can try and get him in, but then I guess Pete, you said that you were getting him excited there. Have you got him in your team?
Yeah, I've got him in my side. I've had him in there for 3 or 4 weeks now.
So have you got two sort of power strikers alongside him, or?
My front line's Benteke, Kane, and Costa.
Okay.
I'm
Good.
I'm recently
that's costing you in the midfield though pretty hard. Like you already mentioned, isn't it? Yeah. Sanchez. So who else are you missing in midfield?
Oh Christ, my midfield. I mean, I look at it and just want to burst into tears at the moment. So I've got I've got throwaway ones. Darren Fletcher, fair enough. I've got Gylfi Sigurdsson, who I absolutely love. I'm delighted to have him in there. Firmino has suddenly developed into a terrible player by all accounts. A few weeks ago, that was great. My other one is Juan Mata, which is just miscalculation of a season so far. I was just convinced he was going to be Mourinho's first choice. I thought, no, Mourinho's decided he's a good player. He's going to start every game, and he started like 69 minutes since.
I think you've been kind of unlucky with him too, because he's been one of the best players for United, in my opinion, at least. He saved them on a couple occasions, so I think you're kind of hard done by that.
Yeah, he's my transfer out this week. I've just lost patience with it now. But the problem is now at that price range, I really don't know who to bring in. I've got absolutely no clue. So
Wildcard.
Can't afford that. He's too expensive for my budget at the moment.
What's your budget for one match?
What's the budget? What are we talking?
I think I got 7.6. So I mean, I could double up with Lallana, but
could get Raheem Sterling.
Raheem Sterling's on the list of people to look at. I mean.
Yeah, do you guys want to kind of transition into that kind of 7-ish million kind of midfield discussion? I think it's particularly
look at that with the next in mind. So we're really looking at this whole kind of festive period, maybe into the new year, kind of game week 2021. That's kind of the next few game weeks really, because that's the transfer that a lot of people are going to be chewing over with their turkey on Christmas Day. So.
Yeah, if I can pull up the midfielders kind of in that budget range, we've got Theo Walcott is 7.8, Raheem Sterling 7.6, Lallana is up to 7.4 now, Heung-min Son probably a rotation risk at 7.2, and then you have Willian and Pedro both at 7.1. So yeah, those are the kind of options you can look at there. For me, I would probably go.
I mean, Sterling feels like a rotation risk to me as well. I mean, Pep Guardiola moves things about at the best of times. But over a crowded Christmas period, I wouldn't be surprised if I'd be surprised if Sterling started all 3 games.
Yeah, and he's coming back from a bit of a knock too.
You could also throw even cheaper than that, but they're probably not coming up in terms of the price. Like Jay Rodriguez has suddenly become a name on people's lips.
Yeah.
That's 6.3, 2 goals last weekend after nothing since a long time ago.
2014.
That was his first brace since 2014. I think he scored in game week 3 against Sunderland. But,
I mean, I've seen a lot of conversation on Twitter about Rodriguez, and I mean, I put out a poll earlier in the week said who's the best in that price range, and out of the 4 options he came back as like 49%.
Yours was the
But
fantastic
are we getting
one
carried
with
away?
brackets, wasn't it? Just one good game, basically, for J-Rod. That was your
It
poll,
is.
wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, that was mine. He's
was
literally
great.
had one good game. Are we getting carried away with this at this point? I mean,
I would say he is definitely one to keep an eye on because his goal to game ratio is actually very good. I think he's only got maybe 3 or 4 goals this year, but he's scoring goals every 106 minutes. So it's basically a goal a game. I mean, he didn't look great against Bournemouth. If we're being honest, he still looks a bit rusty coming back from that cruciate ligament injury. But in all honesty, he's a class player. And 3 seasons ago on the wing, he bagged 15 goals around players like Lallana and Lambert was playing up top that year, and he was basically on the plane with the England team until he did his knee. So I think at 6.3, classed as a midfielder, he's playing up top, likely to be rotated with Long. Austin's out. Rodriguez is definitely a man to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic option.
He's
I
also
agree.
not going to be a rotation risk. I mean, you have to remember that Charlie Austin's out injured, which is what was just mentioned, but also Boufal's off to the Africa Cup of Nations with Morocco.
Exactly.
And Tadic can't seem to buy a full 90 minutes. So, I mean, he's going to have playing time.
Yeah, definitely. He's going to get game time. I'm actually quite keen to almost get him in my team, but my midfield's pretty set, so I'm in no rush to sort of jump on, so I'm monitoring.
He's coming back from a bad injury, right? And he's got they've got 6 games in we've got 3 games in 6 days, I think it is. I mean,
they have the worst schedule,
at some point.
Absolutely. Like Long will play up top and Rodriguez will be on the bench, so there's no point in jumping the gun yet. But I think when the games space out a little bit over the next couple of weeks, he's probably one to look at, definitely.
Yeah, I agree there.
Defensive Sterling before we jump off of Sterling real quick. Sorry, not to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
When he plays, he's not a rotation risk, and what I mean by that is he doesn't get subbed out late. He has 10 appearances where he's played at least 90 minutes, and he's got another handful where he's played at least 76 minutes. So he doesn't play every match, but when he plays, he's not being subbed late on. So you have a better chance at something.
He seems to be quite favoured by Pep, doesn't he?
I just want to cut in as a City fan watching them every week. I think early in the season he played every game 90 minutes, and then he kind of went off to England duty and got injured, and he kind of fell out of the starting of 11 a bit. But I think after this Christmas kind of pile up, I would expect Sterling to start every game, and then probably see Nolito and Sane rotate in that other winger spot. So yeah, I think Sterling, like John said, is a pretty good option.
I think the other thing we've got to consider with Sterling is that they're playing Hull this weekend, and anyone playing Hull from an attacking perspective is what you're after. So
yeah,
absolutely.
Sure.
Like even Hull now in disarray. Like even Snodgrass looks like he's on the move out of there. Did anyone see that during the week? That they're saying he rejected a contract offer. It's obviously not going to be good for morale in the team.
I thought I just saw that he signed something new.
Oh, was it? Have they triggered the automatic years extension that they're allowed to?
I think they might have done that. I know I saw something that looked like he was going to be staying for a bit longer, but
yeah, Hull's poor management of contract situations kind of continues. But just looking at that cheaper striker thing, I guess it really comes into the conversation purely because people are going to be trying to get in Aguero over the Christmas period. So you're kind of looking at that third striker, which some of us, if you're like me, got Iheanacho and you felt very annoyed. But the other options who've very annoyed is an understatement, actually.
I'm going to go by the amount of laughter right there that we all brought in Iheanacho.
Oh my God. Yeah. I still have him.
I got rid of him. I raged on that one. I pretty much put him in, and even though because I was recommending Origi in our top 5 key players, and I ended up going Iheanacho, which is ridiculous.
I was the same as well. I was looking at the stats, and I was like, I'd watched Origi, and it was purely because I'd seen Origi. I was like, I don't trust this guy at all. I didn't. I'd watched him play, and he just flew brace a few weeks back, and I just didn't trust him then. It was only just a goal, was it, against Sunderland maybe, and I just didn't trust it. But okay, so we're looking at, in that cheaper strikers, we're looking at Origi, Callum Wilson, maybe Vokes that was mentioned there earlier, Llorente, Negredo, Rondon. Am I missing someone else? And then obviously, or maybe even Rashford. And then you're talking about then the sacrificial lamb players of who's down in that category, the Inichibis of this world, maybe the Diamantes, who's actually going to be really important for Hull because they've basically got no strikers.
Yeah.
How about Andre Gray for the next 2 matches? Andre Gray's got Borough at home. He's got Sunderland at home on the 26th and the 31st. I mean, I know he's dead and buried for most people. I don't think he's owned 2.7% selected, 6.1 million. I mean, if he's starting, and he has been, they've been playing a 4-4-2 at Burnley lately. He's been paired with Vokes. I don't see any reason why somebody that hit 23 goals last season in the Championship, or 25, whatever it was, can't poke a couple past Borough and Sunderland.
That's actually really...
Yeah, he sort of needs to redeem himself a little bit, doesn't he? So I could see him working hard and maybe trying to do something that you can't be denied that he's got pace for the league, and he's a strong player, but just not really worked out for him so far, has it?
No. But what are people going to do to get in Aguero? Like, how are you actually going to go about it? Maybe Craig, Peter, who wants to take that one on first?
I've got a bit of money in the bank, and I've got Kane currently. I took Costa out for Ibrahimovic because I knew there'd be a massive swing. So he went from 11 to 10.8, and Ibra's gone from 11.2 to 11.5. So I thought, well, I'm just going to go with the crowd here on this one because I'm getting burnt enough sometimes. Anyway, so I've got some money. So Kane's in my team, and I'm probably going to look at maybe shipping Kane out for Aguero, and then maybe one other transfer if I do need a little bit of money difference.
So you'd be running on forward with Ibra and Aguero.
Ibra and Aguero, but to be honest, I've actually managed to amass quite a team value, and it's probably been a detriment to my rank and actually points. So I've got quite a lot of value now, so I'm hoping that my second half of the season is going to be big, and my aim is potentially, it sounds absolutely ludicrous, but I've looked at my midfield and it doesn't look too bad, but I'm trying to get Costa, Aguero and Ibra up top.
That's exactly what I am working towards as well, but I don't think I have the team value to boot. Like, what sort of team value are you talking about there?
My team value currently, I have to get it up exact, but I know it's around 106.2 million.
Yep. That's considerable. You can do good things with that. Yeah. Merry Christmas.
But like I said, boys, that sounds very, very good, and it's all well and good. But of course, like you said, it's come at a bit of a sort of a cost in the respect of sort of points. You know, I've slipped down my mini league because I'm sort of making transfers quickly and potentially making a couple of minuses here and there. But the sort of systems worked for me in the past, and then I've just pushed up the league in the second half of the year because people just can't compete with that extra one power player.
Yeah, yeah. I just quickly want to. I want to quickly come in on that topic of freeing up funds for Aguero, and then I'll throw it to you, Peter and John. So I guess I have a pretty solid plan right now, and I have to downgrade 2 out of 3 players. I have to downgrade either Gylfi Sigurdsson, Christian Eriksen, or Roberto Firmino. So at the moment, it's Sigurdsson and Firmino based on form, and Eriksen will stay, and then it's a straight swap Aguero up to Kane. So I think at the moment I might actually only need 2 transfers to do that move. I'll have to check, but the main reason for those 2 midfielders is because I want to get into double Chelsea defense as well. I see
risk of not owning Hazard.
What was that, Zach?
So you'll drop Eden Hazard in favor of having Alonso and someone else in defense, and then Costa up top, is it?
No, so I'm actually going to go without Chelsea attack, which sounds crazy. But I think we mentioned it kind of earlier on the show. It seems like they seem to kind of shut it down once they get up 1-0. And so like Costa, he seems to score a goal, but he's not very favorable in the bonus point system, it seems, this year. So I think I can probably cover his points somewhere else. And I just see Chelsea defense as such a consistent kind of point returning defense. Yeah. So yeah, I guess that's my thought, but I'll let some other people
Luke,
talk about it too.
How long a runway are you trying to do it over? Because one thing you might want to contemplate if you're trying to do it after the fixtures during the next 3 matches. I guess what I'm trying to say is during AFCON, somebody you should probably be looking to target would be Wilfried Zaha, because he's up to 5.8 now, and he hasn't had a net transfer out week in I think like 8 or 10 weeks. So he's going to be dropping probably somewhere down around 5.4, 5.5, maybe even a little bit lower when AFCON kicks off.
Yeah.
And so you'd be able to have him as your midfielder 5 and free up some, maybe almost as much as $500,000 there.
Yeah, it's a good shout as well. And yeah, you're right. He'll definitely drop because he's pretty highly owned. I'll let you guys talk about it, but I'm pretty sure I can do the Aguero up to from Kane in 2 moves. But let me double check that.
Eriksen's fixtures as well. I mean, you said there about maybe moving Firmino and Sigurdsson out, but I don't know if you play how well you play form fixtures and what route you go. But I know Eriksen's fixtures do get a little bit more challenging over the next 5 and 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think I'm mainly going off of form right now, but so if I downgrade Firmino to Chadley, who I've been looking at with some really great fixtures, he's on penalties for West Brom as well. It's an easy move from Kane to Aguero. So I think that's probably a pretty common move that people are going to be looking at as well.
Definitely, people will be looking to downgrade a midfielder, I think, and then upgrade maybe one of those premiums to Aguero. I think you're right.
Yeah, because I'm definitely seeing that idea reflected among kind of people in the FPL community that you need to have the 2 premium defenders as well now. Kind of these.
Oh, God, don't get me started, Stag. Jeez.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, like the school of thought has already moved away. Like even I think when we even started doing these podcasts, maybe what is it? How many game weeks have we been doing this now? Is this like our 9th maybe?
We've been doing it from like game week 4-ish.
Whoa, I thought it was like 8. Hold on, I'm on the channel.
I know it's single digits.
Exactly
8. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 8. So there we go. So since game week 8, when we were there back then, we were talking about how everyone needed to have a pound shop defense, and like the max out you could have was like I don't know. I think we were all talking about like 4.5s and maybe one 5.0.
Yeah.
And now it kind of seems to have swapped towards having like 2 6.0 defenders possible.
Yeah, well, I mean it's not 2 6.0 defenders from different teams. It's 2 Chelsea defenders just because they've been so consistent.
The Koscielny fire sale has very definitely taken place at this point.
If you're not on top of it either, they are getting to silly billy prices, aren't they? I mean, we're talking 6.5 now for most of them.
Yeah, but just as another premium defensive option, like I see a lot of people. I think he's been tipped in your fantasy football fix picks, Craig.
Yeah.
Is Phil Jones every week?
Yeah, absolutely.
Almost.
Yeah.
Because of obviously his price, and he's paying for a decent defense. Like you've got David De Gea's 5.4, which I always think is a steal for a top goalkeeper, and I actually brought him in with my transfers this week, given that United have pretty plain sailing in the next 5 of the 6 game weeks.
Yeah.
Clean sheets. Like, what are we thinking about United defenders?
Wow. I think with Jose, looks like he's trying to shut up shop a little bit and play old school Chelsea tactics from when he was managing them at the successful points. And he's kind of doing a bit of a Conte, isn't he? He's trying to keep the scores, I guess, relatively low. So I don't know. He seems to have found a formula at the moment. I think Phil Jones is part of that formula. Unbeaten in 7 games. Jones has played those 7 games. That's when he started getting back into the team. And to be honest, we've all watched Phil Jones' career sort of roller coaster. He's been up and down, and he's looked good at some points, and he's even played in central midfield for the Manchester United teams in the past. So, I don't like him as a sort of a glorified fancy prospect. But look, if he's going to get me clean sheets at the price I bought him, which was 4.8 or something, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, because Mourinho, though, I think is very liable, and I think all transfer talk is saying that he's going to get in a central defender like Lindelof from, is it Benfica, in the transfer window. I think there's probably a lot to be said for the rumour that there'll be a centre back come in, whatever about that, precisely that guy. Like, are you perhaps backing a horse a little bit too risky with Phil Jones, because he's most likely, well, it could be Rojo as well who'll be dropped first. It's hard to figure it out with Jose. Yeah,
I think Rojo might be the one that's probably slightly behind Phil Jones in the pecking order, but you're right, that is a risk, and again, it would, if you can make a little bit of money on him, then you only have to move him out. So I think I'm happy to ride that boat for the time being.
Yeah, and have any of the rest of you kind of looked at any other defensive prospects over the next few weeks based on form, fixture, anything?
I'm going to chuck out a name, and it's going to sound very, very left field, but bear with me. Shoot me down in flames, you have to. But since Ragnar Klavan came into the Liverpool side, he came in at half-time during the West Ham game. That was 2.5 games ago. They haven't conceded since. He's only 4.6, and Liverpool are a top 6 side. But he's a name. He's 0.5% owned, and if Jurgen Klopp's found a formula now where they stop conceding goals, maybe he sticks in there. I'm not sure. I know they've got Matip coming back, but
that's
it
what
could be. But
Lovren's I worry about Matip taking his spot. It's just hard to say.
Or would it be Lovren's?
I can't answer that. I don't know.
That's a tough question, Pete. I think you're onto something there. I mean, that Matip, Lovren, Klavan. I think it's God. I mean, I wouldn't even know how to decipher between those. There,
Oh, so I'm not saying I'm bringing them in, and 2.5 games is nowhere near enough
No.
to be able to make that call. But I think he's someone to keep an eye on, because at
Absolutely.
4.6, if he gets another couple of games under his belt.
And they crunch all the numbers. Klopp will be fully aware that since he's come in, they haven't conceded. He's not going to be shy to that. He will be if he's not aware, he'll be made aware by the statisticians. So
I would imagine if I've worked it out, Jurgen Klopp's worked it out.
yeah, exactly.
You'd hope so, anyway.
There we go. So he might keep him. He might keep him in. Then he might want to break something if it's not broken.
And what about Professor Layton?
Leighton
Anyone?
Baines, you mean?
Yeah, Professor Layton himself.
I want
That's
to
why I used
get
to always call him.
I want to get John in on this. We haven't heard from him in a while, but yeah, John, what are your
specifically?
Yeah, just what are your thoughts on, I guess, Phil Jones being a starter? What are your thoughts on Liverpool defense?
Yeah, I mean, I like the take that you guys have on the Liverpool defense. I don't have much to contribute there. I'm not investing in Phil Jones. I just think that United defense is going to be subject to too much rotation and excuse me. I don't see the offensive upside there that you can find from other players that are similarly priced. I mean, Nathan Ake there was a mistimed rush to add him with missing the match against Chelsea because it's the parent club. But after the Chelsea match, Ake's got Swansea away, Arsenal home, which is terrible, then Hull, Watford, Palace, Everton in a run. And he's 4.4. He's still under 6% selected. Once people realize that he can't play this weekend, I rather suspect there'll be a little bit of a sell-off as well. So, I mean, under Chiefs, 5% is a differential play. You can get a defender who's playing in midfield. He has 3 goals in his last 6 matches. And I'd probably go Ake over Phil Jones, or really even Marcos Rojo or Mateo Darmian.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good shout. He's looked good. He's scored, what, 3 goals in his last 3 games, if I'm not correct?
3 in his last 6, yeah.
3 in his last 6?
Yeah.
Yep. So you can't say anything about that. It's impressive attacking output.
I think he's also he has no defensive responsibilities there. I mean, Bournemouth has their first string defense back with Charlie Daniels, Steve Cook, Adam Smith, and Simon Francis. So he literally has no defensive responsibilities.
So Ake has been the guy playing out of position?
Yeah.
Okay,
Sometimes
yeah,
Adam Smith a bit, but it's mostly Ake.
Yeah, I know at one point I knew Adam Smith was sort of playing in the midfield, but yeah, it does look like it's Ake over anyone.
Yep. So, and I mean, all those players, by the way, I mean, I haven't touched on a little bit, but like if you're playing in draft, particularly if you're playing on Taga, whether it's Perfect 11 or whether it's a full season draft league, Daniels, Cook, Smith, and Francis are all massively more valuable there. I mean, when you're looking at players just from a pure overall defensive standpoint, which essentially is how involved players are, Steve Cook is more valuable in our format than Nicolas Otamendi. Simon Francis has the same number of points so far this season that Danny Rose has. Charlie Daniels is wedged between Antonio Valencia and Daley Blind in terms of overall value. So I mean, these are guys that probably in the FPL you're not looking at, but if anybody's transitioning over to play in like a cash game or if they're playing in Chiefs Perfect 11 season-long league, I mean, those are guys that everyone should be looking at. And even to the extent that Daniels and Cook will nick the odd goal, their prices are a little bit high for me at 5.1 right now, but I mean, their points are right in line with that cost. So I mean, you're essentially getting value.
Yeah, it's a good shout. I think, and especially Ake's price in FPL makes him a great option as well for, freeing up funds maybe to make a Chelsea move as well.
Yeah, 4.4 is nothing.
Yeah, it's good. It's good value.
So I might just jump in with another question that's coming through on Twitter from Martin Gill again, actually. So, of course, as we go through New Year, what do we get back? We get one Christmas present from the FPL gods, and that is our second half of the season wildcard. What are you going to do?
Hallelujah!
Yeah.
What are we doing? Because that's also a strategy to get in Aguero if you really need to just do a complete reconstruction. I see Pundits was in the chat kind of saying he couldn't really even see the point of having Aguero, that there's just better ways to invest your funds. So it's kind of, there's always that school of thought going with Aguero. I was highlighting it a few weeks ago before, before everything went to pot for Sergio. Like, how are people going to approach the wildcard strategy?
I think personally I'm not going to go with it straight away. the double game weeks on the horizon, distant horizon anyway, so probably around game week 30, something to keep an eye on. Probably best planning for those. Not to mention, I just don't. I'm not sure there's enough consistency at the moment, is there? I don't think there's enough players who you can say there's a definite template team you absolutely have to get, or you're going to fall behind.
There's so many options, isn't there?
Yep.
You do well for a couple of weeks and they fall back off.
If you chuck that wild card in immediately in January and start tinkering, I can guarantee by the end of January you'll be like, oh, I've just missed out on those 3 players or something.
Yeah, precisely. I completely agree with that.
If you're relatively happy, I wouldn't be rushing in either. I don't think I'll be rushing in. It depends, really.
Yeah, I think there's really one way to use the second wild card, and it's wait for the double game weeks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially, the strategy usually is for the biggest double game week, you wild card the week before because you can't play 2 chips in the same week, and then you use your bench boost the week later. And that's a good strategy. Yeah, last season was my first season playing FPL, and I hadn't really gotten exposure to the chips, but I rose probably about 100K just from that strategy. And a lot of the people up at the top right now are people that have burned all their chips already. So
absolutely,
you're going to be catching up on those people who frankly wasted them, because there's so much more value if you just hold them, sit tight, and then you can reap the full potential from those chips.
You can make up a lot of positions. I agree with that. That's right. That people are up there have used triple captain and things like that already, not even considering using that in a double game week, which is kind of crazy. I think Sanchez last year, the double game week. Sorry, Sanchez last year in a double game week, he scored a truckload of points, I think.
Yep.
But yeah, we're saying that though. The people up top, they might have used their chips, but they're still 100 odd points ahead of everybody, or ahead of me anyway. So I'm not going to make that up on a bench boost or a triple captain unless something insane happens. So,
I mean, it's possible. I mean, last season I think on my bench boost I scored 150 points in 1 week. So, I mean, average that with. I mean, no, I mean,
dropped in very casually.
Well, maybe you guys. I don't know. I don't want to sound.
I got obliterated that week.
Okay, well, my successes aside, I think you really can make up a good amount on the top by using those chips then.
For sure. Just one thing that I've discovered, by the way, whilst we've been chatting, is that I think someone mentioned earlier about Aguero's ownership, and we all know that it's relatively high still because of the dead squads. So it's like 17% with the dead squads included. Without them, it's 4.7. What a differential!
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That's great. Yeah, I think
it's definitely
it's Aguero time for me.
To be.
Yeah, I think that's the way you make things up. If you're struggling a little bit and you're anywhere from sort of 100,000 down to sort of 600, 700,000, get Aguero in.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, Craig, I might turn to you because I know you're a bit of an expert on all things Southampton.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. So, last time you were on, I think both you and I were both praising the man that is Cedric Suarez, and then suddenly, remember he got injured. How awful is that? Yeah, so there was 2 lovely clean sheets that I missed out on anyway because I had Cedric and not a different Southampton defender, and it's burnt a lot of people. Do we think now that they're going to be very prone to rotation over the next few weeks, or how are we seeing that's going to happen? Like I just see John Levo actually. I'll throw his stat in while we see it.
Go for it.
That the Saints haven't conceded a goal at home in 5 hours and 5 minutes of Premier League football. I think that team talk. So we're talking about a pretty tight defense there, but are we trusting it?
Look, Van Dijk will pretty much play every single game. So if you want to invest and actually have one of the defenders go Van Dijk, he's literally a superstar, and I doubt very, very much that we will be keeping him post next summer.
I was going to say that might solve 2 birds with 1 stone, Craig. I mean, that could be this the Liverpool defender that everybody rushes to get in their team on January 15th.
Exactly.
It could be the Chelsea guy as well. I saw links to Chelsea as well.
He's probably better than Klavan, Lovren, and Matip all put together, and that's not an understatement. But, So Van Dijk will play. Look, with Cedric, he is definitely more favoured than Martina. So the likelihood is he was going to play. He apparently had a little bit of a knock. That was why, Stag. So he'll be back. It's just, you can't say too much with these 3 games in the space of like 6 to 7 days, because there's going to be rotation across all the squads, and you'd be stupid as a manager not to be rotating certain positions. But no, I'm probably looking at putting Cedric in my team in for the forthcoming fixtures.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where I think Van Dijk is probably the safest option, and you're gonna have to fork up a little more cash to go up to him versus Cedric, who is very good value when he starts. I mean, I think Jose Font is a guy you just avoid and fork up the extra 0.2 to get Van Dijk. What do you guys think about Ryan Bertrand? Because he's at 5.4 million right now, and
Yeah.
I don't know if there's really a replacement for him.
Again, another good player that will probably be on Liverpool's radar with the sort of lack of a settled left back. I wouldn't be surprised if
Klein and Bertrand back together again. I think brilliant.
They've got Mane, Lallana, Lovren, everyone anyway, haven't they, from Southampton? So why not just carry on throwing money at the South Coast?
Southampton are to Liverpool what Manchester United is to Everton. I mean, we just go and buy everyone and call it a day.
I saw somebody tweet a few weeks ago.
New goalkeeper as well, don't they?
So I saw somebody tweet a few weeks ago about Southampton and Liverpool, and as a Liverpool fan, they just said, "Can't we just give Southampton £10 million and ask them who they would have replaced Van Dijk with and go for him?" Just cut out the middle.
It's good. Look, just going back to Cedric, he's a safe bet for me. Martin is a good little player, to be fair, to cover, but Cedric, he's quite substantially cheaper than the rest. If you're looking for assured starts, then just front up the money. But 0.5, 0.7 in fantasy Premier League, we all know that's like need that money, right?
It's a lot.
Van Dijk's up at 5.7. I mean, that's a lot of money. Yeah.
Good player though, and he is an attacking threat for sure.
Yeah, and he's a bonus point mega as well.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious, Peter, like what your thought is, Craig, what your thought is on adding Aaron Cresswell right now? Because I mean, in that same price range, I think I'd almost rather have him. Cresswell is still owned by less than a full percent of players. I think it's it's 0.5% selected by, 5.3 upcoming opponents. He's got Swansea, Leicester, United, Palace, Middlesbrough. I mean, that takes him through to the February 1st match. And West Ham's been playing a little bit better. They do have the back-to-back clean sheets. I mean, they were against Burnley and Hull, but their points are points, So
he got a bonus point in the last game as well, John, didn't he? So he's a good player. I just don't really have an awful lot of confidence in West Ham at the moment, but I don't know about other people. I know they're picking it up. I get that, but they're just struggling. I just don't know what's going on there. There's obviously things going on behind the scenes.
I guess you kind of have to look in their midfield too when we're kind of on the topic of West Ham and kind of looking into the next few weeks. I saw a school of thought emerging a few weeks ago that Dimitri Payet, we should all be getting him back in, and then I think 2 blanks against Burnley and Hull has kind of put that thought quickly back to bed again. Like, where are people on that? And I guess Antonio, for what it's worth.
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh. Payet, you'd expect him to be doing more, but he seems to be doing all the right things. He just doesn't have a striker in front of him that is competent.
Yeah, he's literally doing it all on his own right now.
Like, John, you had a good stat about Payet, wasn't it, earlier?
Yeah, I mean, he's still crushing the league in terms of chances created. When you look at overall in the Premier League, he has, I want to say, if you give me 1 second, I think he has 67 chances created in all, and then the next best player behind him is Kevin De Bruyne, who has like 53, and then behind Kevin De Bruyne it's Alexis, who has 47. So I mean, he's pacing everyone. There's just he's required to do everything there. Yeah. 2 goals, 7 assists. It's nothing compared to where he really should be. If you took those same statistics and you gave him Diego Costa up front, or you gave him Romelu Lukaku up front, I mean, he'd probably have 10, maybe 12 assists at the midway point of the season. He'd be Mesut Ozil last season.
Yeah.
Does that make Andy Carroll a viable option at 6.2 then?
Yeah, to the extent that like Payet is probably better delivering the ball on the ground. I don't know that Andy Carroll's chief benefit of being taller than everyone else is necessarily going to be there. But if Carroll can maintain health, I mean, even if he's only scoring at like a Solomon Rondon level pace, it's going to directly influence the number of fantasy points the pay it's able to get.
So it's certainly an appetizing price, isn't it? But I just I'm not sure with Carroll. I don't buy.
And we forget as well that in that West Ham team, there's a guy that scored 12 goals and got 5 assists last year. Was one of the highest scoring midfielders in the game, but has been largely forgotten because of injury. That's Andre Ayew, who's coming back. He's been reintroduced to the side. You know, he's only played over an hour twice, and that was early on 4 times actually, since he was returned back to the side. But we all know that, you know, one big game and suddenly with all the rotation, he's just going to be put straight into the side and kept in there if he plays well.
What a talent!
Is he really an option?
I think he's an option, but isn't he rumoured to be, or he is going to AFCON? So he's like literally coming back and going.
Has he been selected? Goodness, I'm surprised that they'd take him.
I don't know if he's been selected. I'm not sure. I haven't seen the teams, but I know that there was a lot of chat about him actually going to AFCON, even though, which is crazy, isn't it? Because they're crying out for an Andre Ayew, aren't they, in front of Payet?
Yeah, exactly. And I brought in Carroll, I think, a couple weeks ago, and it hasn't worked out. But I feel like he's been pretty involved in the attack, despite having no points to show for it. I'm optimistic, and I'm going to hold him. He's been winning a lot of aerials, I know, in the especially in the Taga game, and I picked him up for that reason. But yeah, I mean, he's kind of a funny one because he almost seems to drop deep and play, you know, almost as a midfielder at sometimes. So he's a bit of a frustrating one, but I think with the fixtures to come and, you know, you're hoping that West Ham can kind of bring their form together. Maybe he could start scoring, but yeah, I think I would probably look elsewhere if you're bringing in a budget striker and probably just hold him if you still have him.
Like, actually, I just see in the YouTube chat here, Sushant Garg, he's kind of corrected me nicely and added a little bit more as well about the West Ham AFCON exodus. You've got Ayew, Feghouli, Sacco and Kayute all going.
Big players there.
Yeah. Big players for a team that's really struggling without its big players.
There's negativity around West Ham at the moment, and you've got big players like Payet, not, as we've already said, are not really firing all cylinders. I'm not sure we can bring any of their players at the moment.
Yeah, big players not performing in a big new stadium.
It should have been Bilic going, not Pardew.
Big cavernous new stadium. Maybe Pardew will end up at West Ham.
Yeah.
He was pretty good there last time, sure.
Yeah.
An FA Cup final that, you know, he could have won, probably should have won back in the day.
Random question for you guys. I know we use like a lot of terms that we're all pretty comfortable using, but when you're saying like budget striker, are you talking about somebody that's under £7 million? Are you talking about somebody that's under 7.5? Are you talking like is Fernando Llorente at 6.3 million a budget striker?
Yeah. Sure.
Is Troy Deeney at 6.8 or Divock Origi at 6.8 a budget striker?
Just about, I'd say, yeah.
6.8 is probably the limit.
I think it's probably
7.5 is moving up to sort of midway, is it mid-tier? Like, that's why Benteke having him, you can't really have him as a budget third if that's the route you're playing, not really.
It's hard. It's very hard.
Lose a bit in midfield.
Yeah, it's very hard. You either have to downgrade a midfielder like Sanchez to go too heavy and someone like Benteke, or you run with one heavy striker and then, you know, two of those maybe mid-price, someone like Jermaine Defoe and Christian Benteke, and then you have actually quite a lot of funds to spread through your midfield. Yeah, I'd say probably around 7 million would be my cutoff.
So I have one player who definitely isn't going to fall into that cutoff area. He's probably in the getting towards premium, but not premium strikers. He's got 4 goals and 2 assists so far this season, but hasn't come into conversation. However, thanks to Jamie Vardy's Christmas party special, which is going to be out for a while, we now have Slimani looking like a pretty... I'm not going to say he's a decent option, but he is probably more than likely to play. He's only owned by 1% of players. He has proven that he has got it at stages this season. I think Leicester could definitely... anyone feeling it?
Slimani's off to AFCON as well, Stag.
There you go.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
And Musa's probably gone too. Okay, so that leaves Okazaki. Wow.
Yeah, but here's the thing about Slimani. I am not adverse to taking a 4-point hit, and so some of that comes from typically playing in a draft format where your roster is your roster. So like Islam Slimani, if he's a free agent in a draft format, you go out, you pick him up, you use him for the 3 weeks, you drop him, find somebody else. You're not really paying a points penalty there. Because you're playing against a controlled environment. But a 4-point hit to bring him in against Everton, West Ham, and Middlesbrough, I think that's absolutely worth doing. The problem that I have with him is his cost. How did he come in priced at 8.5? He's down to 8.3. That just seems like a very like a not sustainable, even against those 3 opponents. I don't think he's going to be able to deliver 8.3 million pounds in value.
Yeah, I mean, Leicester, just for me, haven't even considered any of their assets this year. It's crazy, isn't it? When we're talking about the champions of England here.
Yeah.
I think it's because they were champions, everybody came in so overpriced. I mean, Vardy started the season at 10 million.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you looked at them.
He even started the season in my team.
Oh, right.
Yeah, what a time.
I think what we'd say.
On that same note, I mean, Riyad Mahrez is gone as well to AFCON.
Yeah,
We've found that out.
Yep.
Just interesting thing about Leicester though, which I was looking at in the last 4 game weeks, they have the highest number of attempts from set plays. And I know who's suspended for the next game, but their next 6 fixtures as well, they're up against teams that don't score a massive amount of goals. So, one of those 2 centre backs. Looking at in the next 6 weeks, if you're looking for something, I know we're talking about strikers, but Morgan and Hoof are something on my radar a little bit for that.
What about Demarai Gray?
Yeah,
good young talent, definitely.
Well, you see, you've got
to
Mahrez
start
out.
soon, doesn't he?
Yeah,
I was looking at Gray earlier. Actually, he's 4.8, and in the last 4 game weeks, he's played 40 minutes, but he's got 2 assists in that time. I mean, got to do to get a start.
He's a good player, definitely.
Looks good.
He's just sort of being bled in a little bit, isn't he? Let's be honest.
Yeah, he's been there for a year now. I mean, I remember people saying that right at the very start of the year when I think he came in for the FA Cup game against Spurs, and everyone was saying, "Oh, yeah, they're blooding in him slowly, and he'll start getting game time soon." Just hasn't happened for him, so it's an interesting one.
It is particularly when their form has been so up and down. You'd expect them to be trying things a little bit different, and giving someone like him a go. I guess maybe Ranieri's just thinking, like you said. I mean, you're right. He's been there for a year, but he's only 20 years old. I don't know. The Premier League's a big step up, isn't it? There's having all the talent, and then there's just not delivering. Someone who's got a lot of talent, who just unfortunately hasn't really delivered since he moved to the club, is Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. A lot of talent, which just doesn't seem to have quite gone for him at Arsenal, even though he has looked good recently.
The thing about Leicester is, like you say, they bought in Slimani. They've also bought in Musa as well, and
they threw a lot of money at it, didn't they, when they went into the Champions League?
Yeah, precisely. So, in terms of attacking assets, but especially coming out from wide areas, maybe Gray just got pushed down the pecking order a little bit as well. But there's no denying when he comes on, he's making an impact.
And another man that Musa's gone too.
Is that another one?
I think
Amarty's gone as well.
Yeah, he's Nigerian, so
Musa is Nigerian.
Nigeria qualified.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, praise be to that. So they're happy. So they have him.
Yeah, but regardless, you're right. Leicester's getting hit hard by this tournament.
Very.
Stag, do you want to quickly mention the stat? Before we do that, I just want to ask everyone if they could like the video. We appreciate it, and it helps us kind of gauge whether you guys are enjoying what we're doing, whether we need to make improvements. And I'll let
whether
Stag
we need
talk
even
about
more guests. More guests. That's
exactly. Yeah.
So tonight we're being sponsored by Now TV Sport. So what we have tonight as a prize for the person who sends in the most compelling stat to us, so you can do that via the YouTube chat. Chief is monitoring that. You can send it in to us on Twitter via the FPL Live hashtag. So what we want is a compelling stat, mostly based on this game week if possible, though we've made exceptions in the past. They'll try and keep it game week 18 centric, or Christmas game week 18 area centric at least. So what we have is it's a 1-day pass for Now TV Sport for UK people only. So if you're not from the UK, please do send in the stats. But unfortunately, you won't be able to avail of the prize. We'll still probably announce you as the winner because we're not going to be checking where you're from as we're live on air. But then you won't be able to avail of the prize. So just keep that in mind as you send them in. But we love getting in the stats. We love talking about them. They're always a good talking point. They tend to boost arguments and knock them down at the same time. They're kind of a fantastic addition to the show. So get them in.
Mm-hmm. And I have a question on Twitter. It comes from Andy Ramskill. He says, is it worth keeping Walker in due to difficult fixtures, or who would be the replacement there?
His fixtures aren't that bad. I mean, it's Southampton away this week, then it's Watford away. The Chelsea fixture is tough, but then it's West Brom. City's, arguably difficult away. Then it's Sunderland, it's Borough. I mean, Tottenham are playing just fine. And then if you flip back and you look at who Walker's posted big points against, I mean, it's mostly bottom end of the table. It's 11 against Hull, it's 11 against Stoke, it's 7 against Swansea, 6 against Burnley. And those are enough points that, in my opinion, it's worth taking a 2-point outing against Chelsea so that you can turn around and possibly pick up 15 to 20 points in those other 3 surrounding matches.
Yep. Yeah, and I know you
felt the need to go. Sorry, you go.
No, I know, John, you spoke a little bit about this on the RotoWire show with Andrew and Mike about Kyle Walker and Danny Rose, and their attacking output has been pretty remarkable this season so far.
Yeah, and if it's me and I'm sitting here with a free transfer, I'm bringing in Danny Rose over Kyle Walker at this point. On a points per minute basis, he's just a touch behind Walker in the official game. He's just a touch ahead of Walker in Taga. But that's enough money there, the 0.3 million. And the ownership difference is actually fairly staggering. It's 38.3% for Walker, and it is 6% for Rose. So you have the exact same chance of getting the clean sheets. Arguably, you have a slightly better chance of picking up a goal or an assist from Danny Rose than you do from Kyle Walker. And Andrew actually was the one who tweeted out the stats on Danny Rose's shots, and that team is primed to shoot.
Yep.
Might be to Harry Kane's detriment, but Christian Eriksen and Danny Rose are going to do all they can to score as many goals as they can.
Yep, yeah, I agree. If you don't have Hugo Lloris in your team and you're not looking for a goalkeeper, I think probably Danny Rose is the guy to go with.
Yeah, I like Danny Rose, actually. I've been a big fan of him. He's very attacking, and he plays a very similar style to Walker, and of course he's representing 0.4, 0.5 reduction. So yeah, I'd be looking at him too.
Yeah, I think he's a brilliant player, and he's got a bright future. He's still pretty young, if I'm not mistaken. Let me look at his age. He was a
midfield at the start as well, wasn't he? So it's
yeah,
Rose is 25, 26. I mean, he's hitting his prime right now. So
yeah, and he's brilliant going forward. I always see him getting up on the pitch, and I always think he what a class player he looks like he's going to be for the next few years.
For sure.
Yep. Yeah, so I think the consensus would be definitely don't get rid of your Spurs defenders. I don't think the fixture list is that bad. And yeah, you're right. You probably pop up with a couple attacking returns too.
And actually, just a story that's been emerging in the background the whole time here has been the Lee Grant story. And I think that a lot of FPL managers will have Lee Grant on their teams. He's actually not a Stoke player permanently. He's on loan from Derby County, and is poised, would I be right in saying, is going to be going back to them very
3rd of January.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very, very soon. And Stoke have been a bit slow to fork up the transfer fee for, was it 4 million, I think was being looked for.
Was it 750,000 because he's out of contract in the summer, and Derby have, I suppose, rightly turned around and said no, do one. Grant wants to stay, and Stoke want to sign him, and I'm sure Derby for the right price would sell him. So, as somebody who has Grant in their team, I wish they'd get on with it. But because if he goes, suddenly I've got a massive hole in my goalkeepers.
That's exactly it. Is that a goalkeeper out of your team is probably one of the most awkward things to fix because you just
Not to mention he's only 4.1, right? So I mean, if I'm going to get somebody in to replace him, I'm going to have to spend more money. So
exactly it's up as high as 4.3 now.
4.3 now.
It's
Yeah.
4.3 now, yeah, but you probably got only 4.1 on him, haven't you? Or,
yeah, I could sell him for 4.1.
Yeah.
Basically. I think I got him in when he was 4.0. So yeah, I'm hoping he stays very much so.
So goalkeepers out are a pet peeve. I have one, and maybe you all can answer this question for me. But why is every single club listed by their name except for Tottenham? Why are they Spurs in this ridiculous drop-down menu?
Yeah.
I think there's a tweet to the official FPL account necessary to get an answer.
I'll ask Fuzzy Warbles to write a diatribe.
Yeah, a good long
right
letter.
along to them.
I didn't get it across just a minute ago, but we were discussing Rose. Had a little look, and he's played 50 games over the last 2 seasons previous to now, and he's contributed to 15 goals in the Premier League in 50 odd games of time played. That's a lot, isn't it?
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's peak Leighton Baines right there.
Yeah, that is a lot. It was 7 assists last year, 5 assists the year before, and it was 1 goal last year and 3 goals the year before. Impressive stuff.
Very, very impressive stuff. How are we feeling about West Brom's defence nowadays? It's been a bit shaky. It hasn't been quite as consistent as you'd hope for from a Pulis defence.
I've got 2 of those actually in my squad at the moment, Stag, and they've kind of been sort of sitting on the bench in the hope that waiting for the fixtures to change, and they actually are. They started the season with really good fixtures, then they had a period where they've had pretty, tough fixtures, and again I think they start to get a little bit more soft again over the next few weeks. So I'm happy about that.
From game week 20 on, they play Hull in game week 20. There's a Spurs game.
It's getting quite good, doesn't it?
Yeah,
so
they have a very
Foster
good-
and Cooley.
Yeah.
Or they're away to Arsenal, Southampton, and Tottenham. So
Not ideal, is it? It's just
I don't. Yeah.
park it, put it on the bench.
Yeah. After that, I think it starts softening up a little bit. But get Christmas out of the way. If you're going to bring
They've
in
posted
any-
1 clean sheet since game week 3, guys. One clean sheet since week 3.
It's not good, is it? I'm glad Macaulay scored a couple of goals. Jeez.
Tony Pulis scoring defence so well. Wow.
I had a Johnny Evans goal a few weeks ago, and it was genuinely the most I've celebrated all season for
It
an
was.
FPL point.
Yeah,
I
that was-
like,
that
I
was-
can't believe this has happened.
That was a high point in a season of many lows.
Trick, wasn't it?
You've got to love it when that happens. I think
Yeah.
mine was Jose Holebas is probably the highlight of my season when he got 15 points, and
Yeah,
I was doing
Yeah, that was
dreadful.
good.
I was in on that as well.
It's just crazy that is our highlights. Defenders, Jesus, cheap ones at that.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
the
one of
highlight
those
of my
seasons.
season, was definitely touting that Spurs stack of Eriksson, Kane, and Kyle Walker before they went off. And Eriksson had, in Taga, I think he scored 53 points. And so the 3 of them together broke 100 points. It was just phenomenal.
Insane.
Yeah.
Incredible.
By the way, Albion their defenders have 5 goals this season. Solomon Rondon has 7. That is not a long-term strategy.
3 of which came in 1 game as well.
Yeah.
All of them with his head as well. Like crazy. Actually, just looking at that West Brom midfield, James McLean was kind of doing very well for himself, and then suddenly just dropped off the team in like the last month or so. I'm kind of correct in saying. Matt Phillips was a tip of mine and a few others on Twitter, maybe around game week 11 after he got after he went into the international break with a goal and an assist. He was kind of well tipped, and he then came with some fantastic returns. I've seen Luke talking about Nasser Chadli on Twitter, and how he looks like a great prospect. You've been really talking about Nasser Chadli, and you even mentioned him here tonight, didn't you, in terms of downgrading someone to get in Aguero, wasn't it?
Yeah,
So,
he's on my list right now. I
how
think
are you-
he's... Oh, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
How are you guys choosing between Chadley over Phillips? Like, I know there's penalties and stuff, but like, what is the reason behind your thoughts, I guess?
I guess for me, it almost seems like he's probably a bit more involved in the attack. I think Phillips on the wing is going to be putting in a lot of crosses and will come up with the occasional goal, but I think Nasser Chadley is really going to be that guy dictating the play for them going forward. So I think his overall goal and assist potential is probably a bit higher. and I don't think you can make the penalties. What am I trying to say here? I don't think that him being on penalties should be discounted, especially given how many penalties have been awarded this season. I think that that's a real strategy that you can try and chase, and I'm probably going to go for that strategy. So that's why I'm going Chadley over Phillips at the moment.
That's fair enough. Does anyone else have anything to add on that one?
I'd take Phillips over Chadley, only because I think Phillips is the more complete player. But I will, and a point to Luke's credit is, Chadley's been involved in 6 goals in just 800 minutes. Phillips has only been involved in 8 goals, 3 goals, 5 assists, and he's played 503 minutes more. So certainly on a per minute basis, in a salary cap game that's goal dependent, Chadley's the better play.
It is very close, from my understanding. Average points per minute for them both. Chadley 4.7, Phillips 4.8. Goals 0.3 for Chadley. Of course, this is breaking it down per minute, of course. 0.3, 0.2. Attempted assists, however, 0.8 for Chadley, 1.6 for Phillips. So across 800 minutes for Chadley and 1,303 for Phillips. So it's substantial data.
And that's a Matt Phillips who's 0.6 cheaper.
There we go. And shots on target. Shots 1.8 a game each. Exactly the same.
I think their fixtures turn tougher though. From an attacking perspective, they're up against the decent defences. They're going to start. They're going to be creating a lot less chances. I think certainly in the next 6 weeks. So
back to Jay Rodriguez then at 6.3.
Yeah, Jay Rodriguez again.
Who are the easy defences to play against?
I mean,
in their next 6 games alone, they have Borough, Southampton. Borough, Sunderland, and Hull.
Yeah, those are the.
Yeah, so I think immediately they come up against Arsenal and Southampton in 18 and 19. They come up against Spurs in game week 21. But other than that, from the span of game week 18 to, I'd say, up to game week 28, they come against a lot of leaky defenses.
Yeah,
they've got Hull, Sunderland, Middlesbrough, Stoke, West Ham, Bournemouth, Crystal Palace, Everton, all in that run.
So maybe it's a case of waiting then to game week 20, 22, something like that.
Yeah, definitely could be a good shout there.
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool.
In terms of that sort of mid-range or sort of budget midfield, I just want to throw a question out there. Gaston Ramirez. Anybody have any thoughts on that? Because I've almost convinced myself it's a good idea. If nothing else to enable Aguero, but I think this might be another one of my.
They've got good fixtures, haven't they, Pete? I can see where you're going with that. Like Borough, they've got good run of fixtures, and Negredo's all of a sudden decided that he wants to start trying to get the ball back in the net again. Yeah, I mean, Ramirez is 5.3, and in his last 4 starts, he's got a goal and 2 assists as well. He's he sees a lot of the ball. He's one of our only creative outlets. Fixtures look good. If I can off Juan Mata going to Ramirez, that enables me to move Kane into Aguero. And how much is he? Did you say
he's 5.3?
5.3.
It sounds like a bargain to me.
It does, and he's. I mean, I think the concern is that Middlesbrough just don't score enough goals in general for him to really be worth it. But
that's what's holding me back.
Just watching them, I mean, he is that guy. He does everything for that team. So if something's happening, it's coming through him.
That goal he scored a few weeks ago, where he just took it from his own penalty area. It was a strong action as well.
Yeah, he's a good shot.
One quick thing on Gaston Ramirez is he is entirely assist dependent. He does have the 2 goals this season, but he only has 6 shots on target all year. He's played almost 1,000 minutes.
Wow.
Pete, look, I know it's kind of old news now, and he sort of burst onto the scene. Everyone started panicking, like, "Oh my God, is he actually a fantasy Premier League asset?" And it was like, do I need to get him in? But Joe Allen, I think I'd probably prefer Joe Allen at 5.2 to Gaston, just because he's playing in the hole for a slightly more, not better team, but one that's a bit more established in the Premier League, that scores maybe a few more goals.
I think that's fair. He's kind
But
of consistent
it's
as well.
slim pickings, isn't it? At 5.2, 5.3, isn't it?
Yeah,
So.
but I mean, he's proved himself now, and he gets shifted about between sort of a number 10 role and defensive midfield role. But
Yeah, no, it's not ideal, is it?
He's going to play every week though, and I think pretty much everybody on Stoke, Shaw, Cross, and Hughes as well have both come out recently and said, we're amazed we got him. He's a real talent.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like he's, but there again, I mean, you say the same about Ramirez, right? He's just a cut above his teammates.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he's averaged 4.7 points in the last 3 weeks. So just something for you to maybe consider if you are looking to get someone around that price.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at their defenders, which ones are kind of going to jump out at you? If the Borough fixtures are improving quite a bit, they're not the leakiest of leaky defences, especially at home. Mm-hmm. Now their fixtures see them they have Leicester, West Ham, and West Brom at home in the next few. How are you feeling about their defenders? Which one in particular, I guess?
George Friend, 4.4. Coming back from injury, his price has dropped a little bit as well. He does have a tendency to get forward. I think I'm expecting Borough to concede fewer big chances than they have been recently, and they don't concede that many. You're right, they're not the leakiest of defences. And even their away fixtures, Burnley next. They've got Watford as well. So, I mean, George Friend probably is the one that jumps out. If he can get back into the starting lineup, which I don't think there's any reason he can't.
So he's one of the most attacking, isn't he, Pete? For the Borough.
Yeah, definitely.
So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to jump across to a stat the Chief has brought to my attention. I presume it's coming from Ken, and I'm going to presume that's Ken Rooney and work with it.
Yep,
Chief.
it is.
I'm going to work with that. It's from Ken, is it?
Yeah, it's Ken Rooney.
From Ken. So Theo Walcott has taken more shots inside the box with 13 than any other player in the last 4 game weeks. The second place is a joint bust up between Defoe, Kane, and Rondon on 10. So, I think when we had who did we have on that was talking about how great Walcott is and how he was better than Sanchez, and then Sanchez scored the hat trick. Who was that?
Has he not come back?
That was Kevin. It was Kevin DeVries. That's who it was. It was Kev. And then Kev was talking about how the stats were almost identical, and I don't know if that's still playing out now over at Fix. Maybe one of you guys can run across the stats.
They are similar, to be fair. They're not not so much over the last 4 or 5 weeks because Sanchez has gone on a bit of a mad one, but they do sort of.
Walcott's had more shots inside the box in the last 4, according to Ken's stats. So it must be quite close. Like Walcott, I thought from pure viewing, I haven't checked the stats on it, seemed very enabled since Bellerin came back to the side. I thought that was a big moment for him because suddenly that outside channel was no longer just for Walcott to work in. I thought that was a huge moment, and I thought that was why Walcott should go back in my team again. That's how I viewed it anyway. Is anyone else kind of seeing that? Like that, I'm justifying not having Sanchez.
Yeah, I think if you haven't got Sanchez stag, then Walcott's almost a must. I think for you potentially.
Oh yeah, he's in now. He's coming.
Oh, he's in.
Good, yeah, he came in this afternoon. Oh, I see someone mentioning Darun in the chat. That's a sore subject. I had him on my bench last weekend. 10 point
you and me both.
Yeah. Well, who plays Darun?
No one's going to play him. Come on, we didn't bring him in to start playing him for
I had him on my bench for the goal against City as well, and I just laughed. I'm going to play him week anyway. I just let him know. Yeah.
So
I think everybody has a 4.4 midfielder, don't they? Which just sits on the bench and then they score, and you go, "Oh, for God's sake!" It just makes it so much worse when it happens. I had Darren Fletcher earlier in the season, did exactly the same.
Mine was Capu for like the first 6 game weeks. I don't think I played him once.
When you started bringing him in and you did nothing, right?
Yeah, I started bringing him in. He didn't do anything. He went quickly out of the whole team.
it would be pretty amazing if you could get like double points for any player in your starting lineup that has less than like 1% total ownership in the game. I mean, you'd stop seeing so many cookie cutter squads for certain.
That would be so fantastic.
It's interesting.
I'd actually love that.
Yeah. Do you want some Sanchez Walcott comparisons quickly?
Yes, let's have it.
Okay. Let's do that, and then let's go on to our stat competition.
Yes.
Lovely. Right, okay. So, yes, it's a little bit more clear-cut now. Sanchez, obviously, goals. And again, I'm going to go on average per game because the minutes are slightly different, not massively. But 0.7 goals a game to 0.5 Walcott. Attempted assists, this is massively in Sanchez's favour. 2.6 his attempts a game, whereas Walcott only 0.7. And he, that surprises me actually, because Sanchez has been leading the line, so I would have thought that it'd be the other way around. But there we go. Shots the same, 2.9, 2.8. Big chances missed. And that was 2.9 for Walcott, so he's actually shooting more. Big chances missed, Walcott 0.4, 0.2 Sanchez, and the total FPL points average per game 5.6 for Walcott and 7.5 for Sanchez. That's a lot, isn't it? 7.5. You just captain him every week.
It's incredible.
Why have I not done that?
Yeah, but what's this always Captain Aguero stuff? That's just
always Captain Sanchez.
What was this Captain Kane I've been doing for the past 2 weeks? That hasn't worked out.
You and me both.
Who is that guy?
7.5.
Yeah.
A question actually that came in earlier from Maverick, and it's just it's an interesting, more abstract, as close as you get to FPL philosophy as there is. 3-5-2 or 3-4-3?
I'm always been the old. Wow, gosh, that's not. I don't even play either of those. So
Really? 4-4-2?
Oh, 4-4. What did he say? What's that?
I thought this was the normal choice.
3-5-2. Did you say, or what?
Yeah, 3-5-2. So that's 3 defenders, 5 midfielders, and 2 attackers. Whereas 3-4-3.
Oh yeah, 3-4-3 is what I play. Sorry.
I was like, what? What do you? There aren't that many choices here.
Yeah, I think it just depends on your team. I think you could. I think you can go both ways and it can work out, but I think you probably get more value going with the 3-4-3, just because I feel like, having a 4.4 midfielder or whatever, it kind of enables you to have a solid set of, 7 attackers between 4 midfielders and then 3 strikers. And yeah, I'm traditional, so I kind of just set it up that way by default, and it ends up going that way.
There's probably a case to be said. I've never do it. It's just not very glamorous, is it? But there's got to be a case for the old 4-4-2 or something more at the back this year.
There's something.
Defenders,
yeah, right now I've been
flying,
considering it with Chelsea. Definitely.
It's just silly. 2 Chelsea, one's like a Walker or a Rose, and then a Van Dijk or something else that get like a bonus point magnet. You get you're getting points regularly.
I think it's a decent strategy. All right,
yeah,
you guys want to move on?
In the top 1,000 that are doing that. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
I think we should probably look into the stats business, shouldn't we?
Yeah, let's try and wrap up the show because we're going on almost an hour and a half. So yeah, let's try and go through our stats.
Right. So we had the John Lebo stat that I mentioned way early on in the show. That was about the Southampton haven't conceded a home goal in 5 hours and 5 minutes of Premier League football. So that was a pretty good stat as they went. We also had Ken's stat that I just mentioned quite recently about Walcott having the most shots on target in the last 4 game weeks.
Impressive.
It was very impressive. And we had one from Fantasy Footy Pundits. I thought it was an interesting one that I actually didn't raise during the show, but only 3 players born after the Premier League began in August 1992 have scored Premier League hat-tricks. Those being, actually, go on, guess them. Who are they?
Sorry, so 3 players have scored hat-tricks who were born after 1992.
Yeah, after the Premier League started, yeah.
Wow.
Marcus Rashford.
Incorrect. No hat-trick scored yet in the Premier League anyway. Nope.
So that would make them 24 years old, is that right, roughly?
Lukaku.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'll be wrong
Lukaku.
with
Yes,
Lukaku.
Lukaku, definitely. That's a good shout.
Harry Kane?
Harry Kane is the second. We've
Yeah.
got one more.
You're never gonna guess this one.
Yeah, I'd forgotten this guy even could score hat-tricks.
Nicholas Bentner.
In the interest of time, I'll give it to you. It's Raheem Sterling.
Yeah.
I think it was last season he had a hat trick.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good stat.
Yeah, it's a damn good stat from pundits. Have we got any other stats that kind of jumped out at you, Luke, as you were just browsing through YouTube chats and stuff?
No, I think those are 3 good ones to go with.
Those are the 3.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we're talking about is in the chat right now, I have my phone up and actually ready to go with my stopwatch this time for our minute of voting. So what we're talking about, I guess, is our choices are Walcott. What would we call the other 2?
Hat trick. Walcott, hat trick, and Southampton.
Yeah, Walcott, hat-trick, or Southampton. You have 1 minute starting from now.
Yeah, so in the YouTube chat,
So
put in
put that
your
in the
votes
YouTube
for the
chat.
best stat this week.
Flood it. Flood it. Flood it. John Lee. I'm not eligible.
I think John did one win
We've
last
got
week.
Walcott and hat-trick entering in early here. We've got
No,
so what do we want, guys?
Salah
Walcott.
won last week, so John is
Oh,
back in.
Walcott. We've got more Walcott coming through. As it stands right now. 30 seconds left to go.
Floodgates have opened.
The hat trick stat, by the way, what was it again? Since 1990, well, born in 1992.
Since August 1992.
August. You know, Sadio Mane just misses out April the 10th, 1992.
Wow, he's that young. That's incredible.
Yes, he is actually 24, not 42.
I think Walcott is just shaving it as it stands right now.
Yeah, it looks
Just to
like
be,
The minute is up. The minute is up. The minute is up.
just to be
someone-
picky. What qualifies as a stat and what qualifies as a trivia quiz?
It's kind of somewhere down to our discretion, really.
it's a good
Yeah, fair
question.
There's no line.
We get to pick.
Yeah, we take full power to that one. So congratulations to who suggested the Walcott one again, Luke? Dig me out here.
I don't know. We might actually
Walcott
have,
was Ken Rooney. Walcott was Ken Rooney, wasn't it? Or was it a tie?
We've got. It's a tie between Hat Trick and Walcott. They're 3 each.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, we just go to the panel so to decide between the two.
Yeah. So in
think that's
the,
probably
I
the
think
fairest way.
I think Chief is saying that Ken should win because I'm not sure why.
Yeah. Wait. Running the numbers here.
Chief, if you want to tell us why
Pundits-
Ken wins, go
Pundits
ahead.
have also
but-
conceded. So I think in.
Oh, he retracted. All right. Well, guy named Ken deserves a break. I spoke too soon. Let the panel. Oh, that's a good pick. We should let the panel decide. Okay, so
that's
why
what I
don't
suggested, yeah,
so
so
why
we'll
don't our
take a vote on
3
it, so-
guests choose between either
Yeah.
Theo Walcott stat or the hat trick stat, and that'll
Yep.
help.
I have to find.
I'm going to vote for the hat trick stat. I thought that was good.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the fact that
Fun.
hat trick stat was converted into a quiz game as well. So
And it is,
Well, my vote doesn't count, but I vote for Ken. I don't even know which stat it is. I just think poor Ken deserves a break today.
all right.
So it's congrats to pundits who already says in the chat that he doesn't want the prize because he has Sky Sports.
So why don't we just give it to
So
Ken?
I think it's congratulations to pundits for winning, but congrats to Ken for getting the prize.
Yay.
Splits.
Good job, Ken.
Yay.
Ken
Let's do
wins.
that.
Awesome. All right. Do you guys want to... I feel like we should probably just forego our transfers this week since this show is running pretty long.
And we're running into a few game weeks too, so it's kind of a little bit redundant to people listening beyond
Yeah.
what people call Boxing Day. I
Cool.
call Stephen's Day. Whatever.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. So
I guess
yeah.
with that, will I wrap it up?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, perfect. Well, thanks very much to everyone for listening. It's been a real bumper show. We've kind of gone on for way longer than any other show that's ever occurred ever, I would think. We're approaching records here.
I'm tired.
It's been truly fantastic to have everyone on. So if you guys all want to say goodbye individually, maybe, might as well draw out an extra minute. Is that are people going to do
goodbye.
it? Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, that was awkward.
Merry Christmas.
I tried. I really tried. I was
Yeah.
in the old Christmas spirit and all, like.
Yeah,
open the doors.
thank you guys for joining us. Thanks, Peter Blake. We had Craig from Fantasy Football Fix, and we had John Wallen from Playtaga.
yeah, thanks.
Thank you
Good,
all.
good to be here as always. It's good fun.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Perfect. Good night, everybody. It's been great having you.
Yeah, if you guys could
Have a
leave a
good
like
Christmas.
on the video before we
Yeah,
go,
great.
that would be greatly appreciated. And good luck. Have a Merry Christmas. Have a Happy Holidays if you celebrate a different. And we will see you again next Friday. Thank you guys.
Good night. See ya.